Welcome back to a family business podcast. Let's get into it.
Today's topic, it's going to be a little controversial.
What would that be?
Dual agency.
Ooh.
You don't like being controversial, do you?
I don't like being controversial, but is that how you say it? But
Controversial.
controversial. Wait,
Oh my
why can I
goodness.
not say it? Controversial. What is wrong with me? PT, can you say it?
Controversial. Virtual.
Controversial.
Yep.
Did I get it?
Controversy.
I mean, I can.
Controversial. All right.
Okay, now that our grammar class is done,
Yes.
no, I feel pretty passionate about this. Dual agency for I think everybody in real estate knows what that is. The general public, I think some understand it, some don't. I kind of want to break that down a little bit. But this is kind of a passionate topic for me, especially because in recent years, so for those of you who are new to the pod, Brad's been doing this for he's in his 26th year. Me 18 and PT 6 if you include his internship. And in the last 36 months, we'll say 24 to 36 months, when we opened our office and we just decided as a general rule of thumb, we would not practice dual agency. Why, Brad?
Well, there's a lot of risks. And like I always tell people, it's okay up until it's not okay. And what I mean by that is most transactions, there's not a whole bunch of issues. But if there is, and you're the agent that's representing both of the parties, that makes it very uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, neither party is probably going to be happy. And you're in the middle of it. So it is your fault in their eyes, whether it is or it is not.
Right. And we always talk about liability and all of the different ways that a realtor can get pulled into issues. And this is just, like walking on hot coals. You just never know when you can't take it any longer. And you never know when the next sharp turn is going to be.
Yeah, and I think like there are states, so where we're located, Iowa and Illinois, dual agency is still allowed in both states with written disclosure or consent from your buyer or seller. Actually, I guess it would be your buyer and your seller if you're doing
Yeah.
dual agency, right? And that's prior to making an offer or signing a contract. But there are a handful of states, actually more than that. So Alaska, Colorado, Florida, Kansas, Maryland, Oklahoma, Texas, Vermont, and Wyoming. Dual agency is 100% illegal. It's not permitted. And one of the reasons why they say is because they think that it is a conflict of interest. And I would agree with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The problem is that you're generally hired by the seller if you're the listing agent, right? I mean, that's who you would be hired by. And it's pretty tough to not have your loyalties to them. So let's just give an example, okay? So somebody calls off of your yard sign and they want to look at the house. You let them into the house. You like have them sign a agency disclosure that you'll be representing them and the seller both. You met the seller very first. So I would really think a lot of agents would have a problem being able to represent both parties equally. And that's what you're supposed to do. But if you read our dual agency consent, it basically has in there that you're a moderator of the transaction. You're no longer really representing either party, that you cannot tell them any confidential information that would help either party. So, an example, the buyer comes in, loves the house, and says, "What do you think I should offer?" And your answer has to be that I cannot tell you that, but these are the comparables that I used. Fine.
Can you even do that?
So then they say, "Yeah,
Can you? No, no,
yeah,
no. What? Don't you have to have your sellers a permission to disclose the comparable properties that you use to
I'm sure,
position their home for a price?
yeah." And then you write up the offer, get all that done. That's all great, right? So then you go to your original client, who is the seller, and they say, "What do you think about the offer?" And you
Your
have to
answer
say
is
that I will have to leave that up to you, that I can't give you advice here, that I'm also representing the buyer. So do you see how this is getting to be very sticky, very fast?
Yeah, and there's it's such a bad connotation too. I mean, you look at, the idea of what a realtor is and, they're just door openers and so forth. And, that's what it really makes me feel at this point. When you get in the middle, you are powerless. You can't do anything.
Yep.
And here's the other issue too. we're all human, we all make mistakes, some people are better at it than others than keeping information to themselves, and it's just it's very hard in that situation to be able to keep both sides separate. It's a scary situation.
Yeah.
Well, like, I'm gonna give a perfect example. Well, I wanna tackle a question, but I wanna give a perfect example. So, there's an agent in our office that just listed a property, and, the property, the first weekend it was on the market, the agent wanted to do an open house at that property. His Brad's apparently looking for his phone,
I'm trying to
and
turn this on do not disturb. I just so everybody knows, and I probably ought to make this announcement. My watch that my beautiful wife bought me years and years and years ago is no longer working, so it has to go in to get repaired. Well, I thought I sent it in to get repaired, not repaired. So I am now wearing an Apple Watch, which makes all kinds of noises. But anyway, back to the show.
squirrel. Okay, so anyway, he listed this property, and the seller of this particular property, the reason why they listed it is because they want to buy a new home. Okay, well, in addition to that, one of the other details is that the seller is under contract on the house they're purchasing, and them getting that is subject to them selling this house. So this agent said he or she was going to do an open house at the house he's trying to sell, so his or her buyer can get this next home. And I said to him, so what if somebody in the open house asks you why the seller's selling?
Can't
They'll
answer it.
Yeah. Oh, I can't. Nope. You sure can't. What if somebody says what is their timeline for moving?
Can't answer it.
Nope.
So, I mean, you can see where there's a problem here. So I guess what my question is that opens up a whole nother ball of wax is, why do agents practice dual agency?
Well, one of the reasons is, I mean, let's just get down to the bottom of it. They want to get both sides of the transaction, which has kind of changed too, right? Where now we have buyer's agency. So a lot of these buyers who are out there are in contracts with agents. So we're probably not seeing it happen quite as often, which is one of the good things about this new law change. But the ones that don't, yeah, I mean, they want, increased commission. I mean, that's a big actual part of it. So what they're going to do, which is really weird. So you've got a contract with your seller that they're going to pay you X amount to market your property. And then you're going to write a contract for a buyer and you're going to come in and you're going to ask the seller to pay more money to sell their house. I don't think you shouldn't be compensated that you're representing the other party, but it's
But are
just
you really though?
so weird. I mean, when you get into that situation, right?
I mean, but are you really, right? Let's be real. If you're a dual agent, are you really representing? No, because you
No,
really
you're more
can't.
of a moderator of the or I keep saying moderator. You're more of a mediator
Right.
of the transaction.
Let me ask you another question on that. So I do agree that a lot of people do it because they think they're going to make more money.
Uh-huh.
But I will be the first to tell you, sitting here, having done this for so many years and deciding to no longer practice dual agency whenever feasibly possible. I mean, we have a very rare occurrence now and again where it's like kind of unavoidable, but we still try to avoid it. But is what you think you're going to make extra, if you think there's such a thing as extra commission? I don't think there is. You earn what you get paid. Is that you're going to more than lose that amount of money in the time and energy and even
Stress.
lawsuits and stress that you're going to go through when you have a dual agency situation that goes bad?
Yep. Can I tell the story about the last time that I was a dual agent?
Sure, Brad.
Okay.
Very anonymously.
Yeah. So this was we had changed our policy that we were not going to be a dual agent unless it's a just outside like crazy circumstance where we had a buyer that didn't care and we had a seller that really didn't care, which if you explain it to people, typically they're going to say that I would rather be represented.
Yeah, and pause on that. That's, I think we'll get into that a little bit, but I think that's part of the reason why people do agree to dual agency is
That they
because
don't really
agents
understand it.
don't fully disclose and explain what is actually happening.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So then got a call on a listing that we had from one of our past clients, very loyal people, and they wanted to go look at the property. And we said, well, we don't practice dual agency. We will assign you to another agent in our office. And they said, no, we want to look at it with you and you only. So we're like, okay, here we go. So now we got to call the seller and let them know that we're uncomfortable with the entire situation. And they're like, I don't care either. I mean, you represented us several times and we're totally comfortable. So I said, whatever. they're probably not going to write an offer on the house anyway. So went over there, looked at the house, and lo and behold, they called back and said that we want to write an offer on this home. Well, wrote the offer, all was great, everybody was happy, did the whole house inspection, and there was an electrical issue, and of all things, a frozen hot tub. So I
Oops.
said to the buyer, this was the exact thing that I was trying to avoid, was getting into a complicated negotiation on a dual agency thing. Most people would want a new hot tub, right? I mean, duh. But these people didn't want a hot tub, or they didn't want theirs, which I don't blame them for that either. But they said, "Don't worry about it. As long as they haul it out of here, we really don't care." And so it just came down to a minor electrical thing. But that reminded me once again that probably, 8 times out of 10, they probably would have wanted either a new hot tub or they would have wanted compensation for a new hot tub. So I just don't want to be in that spot where I even have to worry about it. And even though everything went well, like the whole transaction, like you're just worrying about, okay, nothing's going wrong, but if something goes wrong, I'm in the middle of this. I've got to completely figure it out, and I'm the one that's got to take both people's emotions. Whereas when you have your own representation, one party talks to their agent, the other party talks to their agent, and in the translation, it calms down usually, right?
Right.
But when you're hearing it right from both the buyer and the seller, that gets interesting.
Well, and at the end of the day too, what is our job as a realtor? It's to give professional advice. That's our one of our largest, value propositions as a realtor. And taking that away and then starting to brand yourself as that agent that just takes the easy way out or so forth, in my opinion, because that's how I view it. Is that your job gets easier in foresight, right? Of not having to do much. Yes, it's much more complicated in liability wise, but you don't want to brand yourself as that person either. It's associated with slimy car
Totally.
Oh,
salesman
yeah.
and so forth.
Well, going back to what we said, the number one reason why people do it is because really, honestly, and that's when I put this through like ChatGPT and all the AIs. It said the number one reason is because people think that they make more commission.
Yep.
That's why they want to do it. So it's about the money, not about the fiduciary responsibility of your client. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is because when you are a dual agent, that fiduciary response or duty is out the window because you have to remain neutral, like we just talked about. So, I think that going back to some of the times that we did practice dual agency, were we operating inside the parameters of what was allowed by dual agency to the best of our knowledge? Yes, we were. But were we making sure that our buyer got the best price possible for the home and our seller got the most price possible for the home in those situations?
No, and the main reason is that we just didn't have any control over that. That if you're truly abiding by the law, which we do, we can't give advice to either party. But I can tell you one thing, that when you have a house on the market and you know that it is priced correctly and you've got a buyer that you're representing, because we've been here before, that low balls that, it kind of unintentionally makes you mad, right? But you can't say anything to them, right? I mean, like, do you say that's a ridiculous offer? No, because you're not representing the buyer.
Right.
But is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Well, but even
So
better
it's,
yet, how about if your seller says, well, we think that's a good offer and we just
and
want to
you're
be
like,
done. We want to take it. You're like, oh,
don't do that. Well, now
okay.
you're
But
not representing the
you
buyer.
can't, you can't do that.
It defeats everything you did up to that point with that
Exactly.
seller, right? And it's just a defeating
Yep.
feeling inside. It's like, oh my gosh, like how did this all just crumble right in front of my face?
Agree.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I think people don't weigh in, and this is where I think we see the biggest issues come about with dual agency is that let's say that they have an inspection on the property, right? And something comes up that's not necessarily a material defect, but it's something that's an issue, and you again, you can't tell your buyer, well, you're being ridiculous, and you can't tell your seller, well, that's a customary repair and you need to do it because again, you're being neutral. You can't
Yeah.
advise
Yeah.
either party.
And I can't remember one, but can you imagine if you're representing both parties, dual agent, and there's an issue that you know is going to be a long-term major issue with the property?
But not a material defect because you would have to disclose that.
Yeah. But you know that, over time that, I would be concerned about this, like a huge hill in the in the backyard where they've had past water problems and they've repaired it, quote unquote. Like you can't say anything.
I have one. I remember this, not that, but I think actually, PT, you were in the business for this. Do you remember there was a situation, we weren't dual agents, but we had a seller where the house next door, they're like literally the lady would like be naked out in her pool, like swimming. And then they had those two like Rottweiler dogs that barked all the time, right? Okay. So if you're a dual agent and your buyer happens to look at the property when that's not going on next door, can you tell them about it?
Nope. Not a
Why
material
not,
defect.
PT?
No,
why
not
can't
a material
you?
defect.
But why can't you tell them, PT?
Because you're representing the seller.
But what does it matter? It's just a naked person and
Right.
loud dogs. What does it do for the seller?
What does it do for the seller?
Yeah, if you tell the buyer, what happens to the seller properly?
It lowers what they're going to get from their home, which is a violation of agency. Yep.
Do you see though how people probably don't always? So, like as an agent, I guess I'm saying is like, are you thinking through these scenarios? Right? Do you really like, or if you're at the open house and you're doing the open house for your listing, what is it that you're saying to the buyer that you have permission from your seller to say that they otherwise would not know? Because I think that's one of the common things, right? Like we'll even hear people, I'll be like, wait, do you have permission to say that?
I know. I mean, we've had them where, the most famous one is motivated seller. Like I would love to know how many people have written permission from their seller to say that they're motivated.
Right.
Because I've heard it from a lot of agents that when we go to show the property, not as much anymore, that it's really kind of a crazy market. But you remember, Andrea, I mean, prior to 2020, how many agents would say, "Oh, they're really motivated. Bring me an offer, and we'll see what we can work out." I mean, do you really think they had that in writing?
Well, and here's the other thing too. Like you see all of these like social clips or TV shows, and you watch how they negotiate. I know we're getting off the track of dual agency and moving more to representation issues, but they're like, I can get it done at like 200, or something like that. Where I mean, what consent do you have to potentially, present that information? Unless you have it in writing that, this is the bottom line that I'll take. But, at what cost does that bring you?
Well, and PT to what you just said, I'll just say that in a dual agency situation, right? It's like, okay, so you've told your seller that, right? So then what is it that you're telling a buyer, right? And then you're probably like, oh, well, this is a perfect opportunity, going back to why people think it's sleazy, because it's like, oh, well, I already know that that's what the seller's going to take. So I just need to find my own buyer that'll pay that for it. And then it's a done deal and I look like a hero. No, you don't. That's not representing your client, and you're not adhering to your fiduciary responsibility to the client that hired you.
So, solutions should be determined between you and your client, not you and the other agent, in my opinion. It just, it seems slimy.
Agree.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I want to talk about dual agency is, so I'm a listing agent.
Yep.
And I've decided I'm going to practice dual agency. Don't
do it.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. How do you write a purchase contract for your buyer?
If you're
a dual agent, how do you write an offer?
What do you mean?
Well,
how do you fill in the blanks?
You just write. You ask, okay, what do you want to offer?
What do you think? Right? I mean,
let's just play this game right now.
Okay, I'll be the agent, then you guys can be the clients. Okay? All right, we'll do this real quick. Okay, purchase price. What would you guys like to offer?
Well, what do you think? I mean, that one over there sold for like 200. Like, do you think we should offer that?
As we discussed before we agree to dual agency, I cannot give any recommendations. So this is solely based on your.
Oh, come on, PT. I mean, the one right over there. This is overpriced.
See how difficult this is. It's. Not,
we're only in question one. All right, let's go next.
100%.
Okay, fine. We're going to offer
what inspections do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah.
Inspections. What would you recommend?
Yeah, do we need inspections on this house?
That's up to you.
Well, but you gave us those disclosures. You said there's nothing on them. So do we need inspections? Come on, PT.
Here are the boxes. You tell me which ones to check.
Oh, the seller. I mean, you've got to know. I mean, is there like anything on here that they're not telling us?
Can't do it.
Wait, hold on. If you're representing us both, don't you make more commission? So like if we don't have inspections and then something comes up, can you just pay to fix it? Because you're making more money, right?
If you think that's the way it goes, sure. It's just like,
But you do get into these conversations.
What do you want for a closing date?
Yeah, what works best for you. I mean, I can't, I can't tell you.
Does anyone see where this could be a problem and why it's not advised?
Right.
Well, in one slip up, like, unintentionally too, right? Like, I mean, they would keep
100%.
asking questions, like, the closing day, you get down to the closing
Yeah,
day,
we
"Oh,
won't tell anybody that you told us,
where
right?
are they going?" Right? I mean, and you unintentionally say, "Oh, they're moving to Arizona."
Hey, wait, I'm not done.
Oops.
Can we have the washer and dryer and stuff that's staying, right?
The washer is I don't know what a washer is, but
And I have another question for you, PT. We're really big into the holidays, and do you know if the neighbors next door do they decorate for Christmas or New Year's or any Thanksgiving, Halloween?
What day? What is the time frame of year are we in right now?
We're spring. We're in February, March.
yeah.
Okay, so next year when it rolls around in November, I'll recommend that you drive by or peek out your window and see if
Good
that's the
job,
case,
PT.
right?
That was very good. But again, okay. Well, do you know if those
But you know
neighbors
how
are quiet next door? I
here,
heard.
I'm gonna open the window and you figure it out for yourself. But you know
It's
how that like
impossible.
changes like your
It's so hard.
tone, like it's terrible. Like I can't like you can't be genuine with somebody in those conversations. That's not fun.
Very tough.
Okay, so I mean, is there anything else on this little bit? Because I do want to dive into a little bit of because another thing we're seeing right now, going back to the way that the commissions are decoupled, and we have separate contracts now for the listing agent and which we always did, but they're really decoupled, and seller pays the listing agent, and the buyer's agent is paid by the buyer. So, how about a non-agency form? Because that's I feel like we're seeing a
Yeah.
lot more of that now, right? Where we have a listing and someone calls in and they say because they just want to see it, right? So you say, "Are you working with an agent?" Oh, no, I'm not working with anybody. Okay, great. Well, if you want to see it, like we don't practice dual agency, so we can either refer you to another agent or, we can send you. No, I don't want another agent. I just want to work
Yep.
with you. Okay,
We've
well,
had this one happen.
yeah. So I'm going to send you the paperwork for non-agency.
Yep.
So basically, it has on there to consult their attorney if they don't understand
Yep.
what it means, but just saying that I represent the seller and I don't represent you, and I'm basically just going to open the door and let you in. So let's play the same scenario in a non-agency situation. Brad, do you want to be the agent?
Sure.
Okay. PT and I are the buyers.
Okay.
Okay.
We're the non-represented buyers. So thanks for showing us this house,
Yeah.
Brad. We really like it, don't we, PT?
Yeah. Do you have the disclosures by chance?
I can email those to you.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
No,
Perfect.
no problem.
It says that they had an issue with the sewer line. You know what specifically happened there?
Yeah. So what I can do is I can email you the receipt to that. I don't know personally exactly what it was. It was a repair on the sewer line.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
And just out of curiosity, why are they selling?
Yeah, because like I mentioned when we had our initial conversation that I represent the seller only, I am not able to disclose that.
Don't have permission. Yep, that's how you
Yeah,
respond.
yeah. So here's the thing, PT. I think we want to make an offer, right?
I don't know. It's not great, but yeah, sure. We'll
Okay,
write an
let's make an
offer.
offer. Okay, can you? So we want to make an offer. We want to offer 500,000. Should we do inspections?
Yeah, this is what I would do on that. So I would get a hold of your lawyer and I would have them write up the offer, and they can certainly give you advice whether you want to have an inspection out. Like I mentioned, I'm representing the seller, so I am unable to
But I don't understand.
give you
What if
that
we
advice.
just email you what we want to offer? Can't you just
Right.
write that up for
And
us?
No.
it's 4:30 on a Friday. I don't know. I think all the attorneys are gone.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
Because
So
you said you're going to have multiple offers on this. If you don't write it for us, we might not be able to get an offer in because
yeah,
I don't think we can get a hold of an attorney till Monday.
that would be part of the advantage of having your own agent.
Okay. Okay. Is there somebody that we can reach out to? You know, I heard Andrea Boeye. She's a pretty good.
Sure, if you would like representation and you already know Andrea, I would love to refer you off.
As
to
long
her.
as I'm not actually your wife in this
Right.
scenario.
Right, that's what I was
Because I have agency with the seller.
Can't Nikki just write? You know, our client experience partner. Can't she just write the offer for us?
No, she technically works for us, so that would be a conflict as well.
Yeah, it's actually funny that let's just talk about that for a minute. Like, I don't think people realize this, and it is kind of a little bit of a thing when people are on teams, right? If someone is truly on your team, in other words, back in the day when PT was still like learning and training with us, and he would go with Brad to listing appointments, even though he had his license, if somebody called in, we could then not it excluded PT from representing that buyer because PT set in on confidential
Right.
conversations with our sellers.
Correct.
And kind of the same thing for us with Nikki. So just any agents that have that, I would ask you to kind of reflect on that maybe because like it was one of those things where in the beginning because she's our assistant, she does also sell, and my goodness, she's been producing.
That's great.
And that's not her intention, but she's doing
Well,
phenomenal.
when you're that likable,
Right. But anyway, in the beginning, we were like, she's like, well, I could just work with the buyers, right? If they call in on our listings. But then what we realize is, I mean, she has access to our files. She has access to confidential conversations. So whether she's representing them in that capacity, whether she's having a direct conversation as a buyer, that definitely, and a seller, could be misconstrued when, again, when things aren't easy and become a mess, they'd be like, well, Nikki probably told him she saw the
Right.
file. Do
Well,
people ever think
exactly.
about that?
Well, and I was completely blocked off from the world. I mean, it was, it was a completely different line. But I would, yeah, talk a little bit more about, where is the line with, somebody on your team, whether they're able to represent a potential buyer when they can't. I know you already alluded on it a little bit, but going a little bit more depth, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, yeah, because I think that it has to be literally where you have had no
No contact.
conversations with that.
Seeing with your eyes
Right.
is how, or hearing,
Right,
seeing,
right, yeah.
hearing, and so
Yep.
So you haven't had a conversation, you haven't been copied on any emails, you haven't been in any text chains, you don't have access to those files, because if you do, then you are truly a dual agent, and if you're not
Yeah,
disclosing
and I
that.
really think that if you're on the same team, the optics of it aren't great either.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
and that's what people originally, question right away. And when people call in the listings and they think they're calling the listing
Yeah.
agent and so forth, it's the same thing essentially. They know the exact same conversations or thought process on why you either got to this number or all of the other confidential items within that particular client. So you have to guard that
Agree.
and any person that's involved.
Well, and let's take this too to something we haven't talked about yet on this, which is if you do elect to become a dual agent, let's talk about, like, this literally just happened to us. Okay. So we have a listing, longtime client. They've worked with us multiple times. We have no intention of doing dual agency. We list the property, we get all kinds of activity. We actually had the exact situation we were talking about with a non-agency person, who didn't want to contact their realtor because I guess they didn't want to pay him and they didn't want to bother him, but then ended up, because we refused to write the contract for them, and their attorney wasn't available till Monday. But anyway, we though had a client, another longtime client, like family friend, old, that literally the next day reaches out and says, "Hey, I want to see that property." And we went, "Oh crap."
Oh, yeah.
So we immediately before they even looked at it, but we contacted another agent, said, "Hey, we're going to need you to run point on this with the seller. We don't want to do this, but in this specific situation, we can't really avoid it. So he's going to look at it, and we just want to protect ourselves right now in case they do proceed." Luckily, they did not proceed. But if they had, then I don't
Too
understand.
modern.
That's a whole nother conversation. But what I'm saying is, as a listing agent, if you decide to practice dual agency, so you do that, right? So you have it, you have a couple offers, you have a client that writes it. Even if you defer those at that point, you say, okay, well, now I have somebody, you defer it to another agent, you've seen all those other offers. How is it that you actually advise your client? It's just a horrible
It's a
situation.
bad situation to be in for sure.
I just think that really, as agents, I think we can do better for our
100%.
clients.
Yeah.
And has it, I guess here's another question for you. When we talk about the whole commission structure and
Yep.
affecting your business and why people think that they do it. In the last 2 to 3 years that we have adapted this rule, which I literally can't think of in the last, have we done any dual agencies in the last 2 years?
Oh.
I don't think we have. Have we, PC?
Yeah, there was a new construction.
Okay. Well, oh, you're right, but kind of
But
not,
not
because
really, 'cause it was
we had that co-listed with someone else.
tri-listed.
So we literally said to the listing agent, "You take over.
Yep.
We're taking over." We cut contact, and I mean, it still was a dual agency situation. We disclosed that, but we tried our best to avoid that.
Yeah.
But has it affected our income? Has it affected our business?
No, not at all.
Your mental
And
health.
yeah, it's been good on my mental health not to have to even worry
But
about it.
seriously though, I mean, 100%. I mean, Brad can speak to it to a T.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that you know that stuff just puts you on a situation for who wants to worry about something for a whole 30 to 60 days. And
Yeah.
when we talk about the mental health crisis, and that stuff is avoidable at the end of the day.
100%.
And it goes back to, I think, how we run our business, right? I mean, if you have a relationship-based business, you have clients that are repeat clients and they've been referred to you and you've worked with them over and over again, it would be next to impossible to be a dual agent because you know those people so well, right? And vice versa, right? We have a couple of agents that, we know will take care of clients that we've had to just say to our client, "You know what? I know you love us. I know you trust us, but in this situation, we 100% cannot be a dual agent.
Yep.
You're going to have to contact X, Y, and Z." And your client's going to respect you
Of
for
course.
that. I
Of
mean,
course.
what are you afraid of losing them?
Yep.
Then you didn't take care of them properly to begin with, right? So I think that that's kind of the big takeaway. I mean, we have one right now, an agent in our office that she was in a dual agency situation. She tried to avoid it, ended up in it,
Oh
and
yeah.
she's literally been dealing with craziness over one part of the contract that the buyer is upset about that didn't end the way that she wanted when she terminated the contract. And she has been receiving texts and phone calls. There's attorneys involved. It's just craziness that could have 100% been
Been
avoided.
avoided. Yep. Yep. And just have them sign the non-agency. I mean, that's as
And you
easy
can't
as it
write the
gets.
contract for them.
And you can't write the contract for them. Exactly. I
And
love this episode. I mean, this was
Brad has a
great.
little bit of a cold. Can we hear that?
No, not a cold. It's more allergies, I
Allergies.
think.
You have
But
allergies too, don't you, PT?
Always. Yeah. I never can avoid them.
It's a good thing that I have a doctor of naturopathy that gives me these things that help me with my allergies.
Well, yeah. And then when you have a sibling in college that brings back whatever
yeah, that
comes from there
yeah,
too
yeah,
doesn't really
yeah,
help
yeah.
either.
That
So
Well, I think
definitely
this was
hurts.
a really good episode.
I agree.
I hope the takeaway for you, if you're an agent that lives in the state that dual agency is allowed, I hope this will help you like take a pause and think about the way you do your business and really reflect on at the end of the day what is the best thing for your buyer client and for your seller client when you are representing them and make the decision based on that. Because I think that everything would be a whole lot better everywhere. I just wish they'd outlaw dual agency everywhere because I just don't like it.
Yeah, that
And
that would just make it easier. Then there's no question.
yep.
I mean, like I always say, would you go to court with the same lawyer? I mean, that's really what you're doing, right?
It's, it's just so.
I mean, if you really think about it. I mean,
it's the
that's
truth.
But
yeah.
the thing is, people don't think that far down it. So just
No,
let
they just really think it's only real estate. Well, it's the biggest investment of your entire life, so it's
it's
a big
no
deal.
different than being a for sale by owner, right? Everything's fine until it's not fine.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
there you
Most of
go.
the time it's
Love
not.
it.
All right.
All right. Peace.
All right,
Peace.
peace.